Hi guys, welcome to another episode of SCN. On today's show we've got Murry from Q Solutions joining us, who's going to teach us some tricks of the trade when it comes to getting your car licensed and registered. And to end off with, as always, we've got a couple of funny videos. This week we're going to be showing some guys running from the law who clearly haven't got their cars properly registered. Murry, thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Nick, thanks for having me. Thanks for the invitation. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, it's nice to get you in. Murry's one of the busiest guys in the industry. He's looking after a lot of dealerships, a lot of private guys and a lot of corporate clients. Murry, tell us, why does a business like yours exist and is there a need for it?
Absolutely, Nick. So we service, like you said in your question there, we service three main areas of the market. The private buyer, the private seller of any cars, motorbikes, trailers, boats, caravans. So that would be a person who would visit the Surf4Cars website, find a car that they fancy, and buy the car. Now they need to get it registered and licensed.
Right. And obviously the seller also needs to make sure the car gets
absolutely.
Take care of that for both buyer
for sure.
Right.
So we would help the seller or the buyer or both. Then we also help quite a lot of companies, small to medium-sized companies, even larger companies with big fleets of motor vehicles, looking after their registrations and licensing, and annual licensing, that kind of thing, monitoring their traffic fines, keeping them informed with stuff like that.
Okay.
Then also for us, a big where we see a big need is in the motor industry and with the motor dealers.
Okay.
We call on quite a few motor dealers every day of the week, collecting documents for their customers that have bought cars from them that need to make sure they get registered correctly. Okay. And so those would be the three main needs that keeps us busy.
Keeps you in the money.
Keeps us in the money.
Nice.
And then also, I would say the other main reason why companies like Q Solutions exist is because the licensing departments that we rely heavily on,
yes.
Let's just say that things don't go always as you would expect them to there. It's hard not to badmouth the licensing department. I'm going to try not to do that at all.
I'm going to wish you well.
Look, it will be hard, although we do, they service us well. Yeah. They help us a lot. We wouldn't be able to provide the service to our customers if it wasn't for the local licensing departments.
Listen, thanks to you, it's been a long time since I stood in the queue at the license department. It's probably been about 10 years. You've been looking after me for the last decade.
And thanks for phoning me.
Well,
yeah.
I've got to tell you, if you guys have gone out there and you've tried to register a car on your own, you know just how frustrating it can be. And again, if you're going to try and do it yourself, Murry, what are the critical documents you need to take with you? Okay,
so for a change of ownership, Nick, the first and most important document would be the registration certificate for the vehicle. That's some people and some banks would call it the NATIS document. Okay. But it is the certificate of registration for the car.
Not to be confused with the licensing document that a lot of people seem to think.
Exactly.
Okay.
The licensing document, the one that you cut the disc out from, yes, at the bottom, that's issued annually on application. Okay. But that's not the registration certificate. Without a registration certificate, you can't do a change of ownership. Okay. So anyone who owns a vehicle needs to make sure that they keep that registration certificate in a safe place. Okay. The other thing which would be interesting is if a car is financed through a bank, yes, the bank will keep the original registration certificate until the car is settled, and on request the bank would release that document to you. So that's the first and most important document. Secondly, it would be the ID of the new owner. And again, in a condition that's legible, exactly, to the license department. And it seems to change. I know some license departments can be harder on ID copies than others. I've learned that from through the years. Correct.
But a bulletproof, good, clear, concise copy, and certified or not certified, does it make a difference?
It definitely must be a certified copy.
And it needs to be stamp certified.
Correct. Correct. It needs to be a clear copy. Businesses like mine, there needs to be at least one commissioner of oaths in-house.
And you're a commissioner, obviously, at Q Solutions?
Yeah, I had to, I went through the whole process at the magistrates court, became a commissioner of oaths. It's essential.
You can commission documents on site then. So if I'm going to drop off the original NATIS, copy of my ID, you're going to stamp that.
Correct.
And the other thing I know you constantly remind me about is proof of address. Proof of address is absolutely vital as well.
Proof of address is essential. It's something that really stops a lot of documents from going through first time. If the address details on the eNatus system are different to the address details that are on the application form, the application is rejected.
Okay.
So proof of address is very important.
And just to let guys know, proof of address does not mean a copy of your gym membership. Proof of address is only acceptable in what formats? Obviously, as rates and taxes bill.
Correct. That's the best one. Rates and taxes account, levy statement if you live in a complex.
Okay.
Things like,
if I'm renting a house and I don't get the levy statement,
correct.
Could I use a bank statement?
You could use a bank statement, a copy of your bank statement. You could also use your lease agreement if you're renting.
Okay.
I would, just to keep it simple, stick to those.
Okay.
If it's a phone bill or a telecom account or that would also be acceptable at most licensing departments.
TV license, all of those. I know a lot of guys do, they set out there, they run out to the license department, they forget to pack a lunch and probably pack a supper. They're there for the better part of 3 or 4 hours. And I mean, they get to the front of the queue and then they realize they haven't got this, they haven't got that.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys really do alleviate the frustrations of having to go and do it yourself.
For sure. We've been sent away so many times that we now know exactly what we need.
So you don't set off without the client performing properly. So you will not send one of your guys to a department unless the client's given you all the proper documents.
Correct. We obviously try to make sure a massive percentage of the time that we go to each licensing department with the right documents for each transaction.
And in terms of turnaround time, I mean, this is something that everybody wants done yesterday. I mean, I'm your worst candidate for that. I'll ring you at 9 and expect a doc by 11. But realistically, what's the standard turnaround time if I'm getting it done in Gauteng?
We would aim to process the bulk of our documents within a day to a day and a half. So if we collected it from a motor dealer today, we would aim to have it done by late the following day.
Okay.
If we were going to one of the sort of outerlying areas, the East Rand, Ekurhuleni, or Pretoria, or Krugersdorp, we would aim to go to those outerlying areas at least 2 or 3 times a week.
Okay.
So a dealer or a private customer with a transaction that had to be done in one of those areas could expect to have it done in, I would say, 2, maybe 3 working days.
Okay, that's nice turnaround. That's nice and quick. Guys, do yourselves a favor. If you've got cars out there and you haven't registered them yet, please go out and do it. You're going to find yourself in a situation, we've talked about this before on a couple of earlier shows. If you own a car and you have not registered it in your name and you don't do it, and the previous owner, the seller, dies, emigrates, moves, disappears, you now find yourself with a car that is absolutely unsaleable. You cannot get it registered in your name, which means you can't transact on it. So that is something to bear in mind.
Absolutely, Nick. I always say to people, it's a little bit rude. There's no age restriction on this next comment, though. It's like going to the toilet. The job is not finished until the paperwork is done.
And never was a true word spoken in jest.
Correct. So it's so important as a seller of a car to make sure
that you're in fact the owner of the car.
Firstly,
point,
yeah. And then if you're selling a car, to make sure that the notification of change of ownership is done, so that you're not liable for ongoing license fees or penalties for late licensing. Also, these days with e-toll and traffic fines, if you're selling a car, you need to make sure that either the registration and license into the new owner's name happens, or as a bare minimum that you at least notify your licensing department that car has been sold, and you've told them who the new buyer of that car is. Sure.
And where can the guys get hold of you? I know there's guys out there waiting to get on their phones to come and utilize your services. How do we get hold of you?
Well, Nick, I hope the phone rings. Our website is www.qsolutionscc.co.za. That is going to magically appear and scroll across here somewhere. And we're in Randburg, and our phone number is 011 782 6490. And we'd love to help anyone who needs advice, who needs help with that kind of a transaction.
That's nice to know. Guys, don't forget to use that number, Q Solutions Murray. He's the guy to speak to if you want cars registered or deregistered. And have a look at a couple of guys who clearly didn't follow the letter of the law when getting their cars done. Remember, guys, keep it legal and avoid those queues. Murray, thanks very much for joining us today.
Nick, thanks for the invitation. It was great to be here.
It's good to get you into the studio. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to smash that like button. Check out the original video on the links below. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe if you haven't already. I've been Nick. It's been real. We'll see you soon.
Surf4Cars.